Welcome to Grey Primer. My name is Nick, I'm your host, and this is day 4, our final day of our Raging Heroes weekend. And we're going to close with Ardanna and the Exemplar sisters. So Ardanna is the standalone miniature. Looks like this. I'm hoping you can see that. Pretty amazing. I think this is one of the minis I'm most excited about because I think this is going to be my Canoness for my Sisters of Battle army. And then we have the Exemplar sisters here, from the Sisters of Mercy range. And I think that we've got the command on this side, so it's the command team, and then the trooper team over here. And again, we've got lots of plastic baggies, so let's get stuck in. Okay, so we're heading into the home stretch now with the toughest girls of the galaxy from Raging Heroes, with our final group, the Exemplar sisters, and also the couple of specials here. We had the Gift Mystery Heavy Weapons sister, and it turns out this is one of the Exemplar sisters command group, so one of the ones from here. So I'll just pop that out of the way, but that was completely free. I think there was a special offer on spend a certain amount and get a free heavy weapon sister. So that's what that one was. Really cool. So we got our command group here. We also have the one character model that I ordered this time, which was Sister Ardanna. So I'll have a look at that as well. And the Exemplar Sisters troops, which is where I'm going to start. So while they have this kind of more, I guess, Ardor sort of helmet feel going on, thankfully it's an optional. You get the believe anyway. Yeah. So here on the back of the retail sort of packaging, you can see that there's the alternate sort of helmeted heads and the non-helmeted heads. So let's have a look at the first one. So consistent with what we've been seeing all weekend, these slightly unusually shaped sprues, Raging Heroes branding stamped into it, which I really like, and multi-part bodies. This one looks more multi-part than the others have up to this point. A little bit more construction, but that's no bother. And they've tended to go together very well. Yeah, you can see those helmets there. I'm not sure. I don't know. I'll dry fit the both of them. And then we have what look like sort of multiple arm options. So there might be a couple of weapons variants tucked away in here. But interested to get into that. Then we have this other sprue. We've definitely got a heavier weapon there. Like a flamer unit. And I think these are going to look pretty good. I'm liking the weapons options. Got more of a standard bolter here. A supporting hand for the other side. Not sure what this is. Maybe an incredibly long leg. Yeah, knowing the miniatures we've seen so far, that's probably exactly what it is. A really long leg with really high heels on it. Nothing but respect for people who can fight as hard as these guys can, but in whatever, 6-inch heels. Looks like bolt pistol maybe. Standard bolter options. One of the torsos there is the last of the troop sprues. This looks like a complete sprue. Heavily skinned, which is what I've started calling this. You can just see the sheen of it there. You can see a heavy piece of it here. It kind of looks like ice on a lake until you touch it. But yeah, very much like a skin that sort of is still attached to the sprue in many places. And that takes some careful removal. Because it's actually it looks obvious here when there's a whole bunch of it, but when you're down to the last couple of fragments, it's easily missed. And imagine it's something that will show up very, very quickly when you go to prime. So these are just the random bits that I'll need a little bit of investigation work to find out where they go. That looks like a torso. I don't know what these other parts are. Maybe a head there. So I'll find out anyway. And let's have a look at the command group. And definitely the Exemplars seem to be a lot more construction involved. The Crimson Redeemers, the Vanquishers, were pretty much ready to rock. They were almost, most of them were completely built, just needed like an arm or a leg, but these involve much more construction and a few more variants on weapons choices. Man, I love their flamer units. The way they look like they're segmented. Even the fuel cell. The markings on that. Yeah, just something about it I really like. And we got a bolter, arm options, and then the legs and torso and helmet and head option. Oh, I love that weapon, whatever that one is, that first one there. Then we go into standard bolter, arm options, robes and things. Yeah, so these definitely look like a slightly more complicated build, but you've got a really clear image here. So I don't think there's going to be a huge amount of trouble putting them together. Loving the standard. And the posture here as well, it's just so dramatic. But the standard is gorgeous. Oh, check out the skull detail. Oh, that's killer. I love the way it's folded over here. And then just comes off to this point. Just beautiful. The pointing finger. And speaking of dramatic, look at the way the wind is whipping these robes here. Oh, beautiful. Bolter, a sword in there as well. Looks like alternate weapon options here. Maybe like a slightly heavier version of that rifle. And once again, some great effects there with the wind catching the robes. Okay, so that's the command group. Those are the loose pieces. And finally we get on to Sister Ardanna. I think it was just the posture here, the fact that she's so deep in thought as she leans on her sword, and she's got her bare foot up on this gargoyle at the bottom, if you can see that. I just think that they really knocked it out of the park with this sculpt. And she kind of reminds me of Mila Jovovich. I think it's the hair, but maybe the facial sculpt as well. So let's have a look at the actual quality here. Ooh, very loose. Okay, so this is mostly come off the sprue, if it ever was on the sprue. I'm going to put this down because I'm going to lose bits. Okay. So here's the backpack, and you can see it's got a lot of that skin on it. I'll carefully clean that up. Yeah, you're dealing with really fine details around the spires and stuff here. And maybe these are candle details or something as well. So you gotta be really careful when you're taking off that skin. And the sword. And the bottom of the sword is missing. But maybe the idea is that it's sticking into the base. Maybe that's how this looks when she's sort of leaning on it. And maybe the overall look is that the sword is jammed into the ground and she's sort of resting her chin on it or whatever. It's hard to tell in the picture because you don't really see the bottom of the mini. Hopefully that's just the case, that it is sort of make it look like it's sticking into the base of the miniature rather than broken. And this is the gargoyle that she's resting her foot on. Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah, I'm definitely going to put her at the back of one of the Sisters of Battle tanks. And there's the rest of the miniature. So I'm loving the bob haircut with a slight flick with the wind, and the wind is also catching sort of the robes here. Brilliant stuff. And no means flat, that miniature. It's got a nice three-dimensional sort of depth to it. And then this last piece looks like a bolt pistol here. But I'll get that cleaned up and have a better look. Okay, so can't wait to get into this, especially that last miniature. I think that's going to be a real marquee figure. But let's just see. Back in a sec. And here we are, we've got our final section for our final group of Raging Heroes on this 4-day weekend. And yeah, really enjoyed the Exemplar Sisters. So when I was ordering from Raging Heroes, they have these great army deals, and there's great sort of savings to be made if you get them as sort of larger armies, you know, 10 of this unit, 10 of that one, this special figure, whatever it might be. Go on to ragingheroes.com, you'll see what I mean. It's just full of those kind of army deals and offers. The best value I could find on the other miniatures that I wanted, it seemed to always include the Exemplar Sisters group. And when I saw them, actually, I saw these sort of the helmet designs here. Hopefully you can see that, sort of like a pointy, kind of almost alien looking thing. I was like, oh no, but I saw that there were alternate heads, and I was like, maybe they'll be okay with the alternate heads. But those sort of alien looking, almost sort of Ardor kind of looking heads just were putting me off. But I am glad I went with that army deal, because I was actually really thrilled with the sculpts in these. I thought they were beautiful. Now, you will notice that I ran out of plastic 32mm bases, and I actually ended up sculpting clay bases. So these are clay 32mm bases. I discovered that I had completely run out. Raging Heroes sent these out with a mixture of 25mm slaughter bases and 32mm bases, but I wanted to put them all on 32s, which left me with a huge deficit, as I mentioned in one of the earlier videos this weekend. So I was kind of left a bit short, and I thought, I'm going to have to wait in building these until I can order up some 32s. And then I thought, well, I have this movement tray from, I think it's from Weird Games. Yeah, so from their other side range. So you got this 3-panel, or 3-slot sort of movement tray, and these are 32mm. So what I did was I used some of the Green Stuff World Sculptor Vaseline to, you can see it's still sort of residue out there. So I just smeared some of that in with a bit of tissue just to push it into the edges. I pushed in some putty, I think it was DAS. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, DAS. It's just air drying clay, and pushed it in there. I used a larger... So I used this, which is like a larger sort of MDF base. So clay went in there. I popped this on top and pushed down really hard. And then I did it for all 3. And then I just left it in the movement tray, left it off to one side. And after a few hours, it had dried enough that when I flipped the movement tray over, the 3 beautifully finished 32mm clay bases just fell out. And they seem to glue really well, just using super glue, and they seem to attach beautifully. They actually seem to attach better with, I mean, look how tiny that contact point is. They seem to work better than plastic. I don't know why. Now, they are more fragile. You would not want to drop this. It will just shatter, or just sort of go to, you know, powder off or something. But I'm going to try a couple of varnishing techniques with this to see if I can make it a bit more robust. I'll just have to see what that looks like. Maybe polyurethane primer or something like that. I don't know. I'll check it out. But for now, for the purpose of this, getting this video ready, it suited just right down to the ground. It was great, actually. And let's have a look. So these are the Exemplar Sisters. This is one of the first of the troops. And look at this pose. Just beautiful. Actually, I missed where the other leg was. We can just see the knee here, and then you can see the foot sort of out the back. But just lovely. And again, drilled my barrels. And I thought that was a really nice looking mini. On to the next one. And again, love the double barrels here. Really straightforward to put together. Again, these are unprimed, so you'll see sort of glue points and everything that I might just give it another little cleanup to before I actually prime these. But generally they go together very easily. And with the other Raging Heroes, the only real pain point is the backpacks, which don't seem to sort of settle in neatly. You just kind of shimmy them until you realize, okay, there's enough contact points there for the glue, and you kind of just hold it there until it sets. But the overall effect of the backpacks is nice. It's got that kind of, religious iconography sort of look to it, almost like a church, a cathedral, or, church windows, something like that. Pretty neat looking. You can see how well it works here too. Again, really tiny contact point, but incredibly dramatic looking miniature. And there is some flexibility with how you design these, really, how the arms go on, especially. So you have options for the heads, but also the arms. You can play around a little bit with the angle, because it's just ball and socket. I like the pose on this one. It's got this sort of a flamer unit at the back. I like the slightly open left hand. There's just something interesting about the pose. Look how ornate the armor, the war gear, the clothing is. It's just going to be beautiful to pick out all those details. And I actually added, so this is a shoulder pad from a Sisters of Talarium kit, plastic kit from Shield Wolf Miniatures in Greece. And I felt it worked well here. Because they don't have a huge amount of armor, the Exemplar sisters. And I just felt that it was a nice fit. I also thought on the side that you've got your flamer unit, you'd probably want a little bit more armor to protect your skin and the side of your face. But yeah, I just think that's a really lovely stance with the flamer unit behind the back. Okay, so over into the command team, and just look at the aggression, the dynamism, the drama. Just beautiful. And once again, the robes and everything are all going off in the right direction, or in the same direction. And I just love that pose. With the deal I got, there was a free mini, and it ended up being one of the command group from the Exemplar sisters. But I just want to show you how different you can actually make these. So this is the same miniature. You can see the legs are the same and everything. So in the one on the left there, you've got the heavy weapon. The one on the right sort of pointing with the weapon up beside the head. Speaking of heads, these are both from Sisters of Talarium, as far as I remember, from Shield Wolf Miniatures. So I stole from another set just to give these a little bit more variety, and I would just give them that little bit more visual interest. So here we have a flamer unit being used by somebody who just looks like they're running across the battlefield, just flaming as they go. You have got to admire that. That's just magic. That's a beautiful sculpt as well. And then we get into a couple of my favorites here. I love the way this banner is being held. I love that it gives a sense of the weight of the banner. I mean, you can see the sort of the ornate details up top. You've got purity seals, skulls, these very cathedral-like, church window kind of spikes up top. But it looks like she's just braced herself for the weight of it. I think that's really nice. Again, I used a shoulder pad from my bits box there. I used a combat knife on the hip here from my bits box. That's one of the bolt pistols from the actual Raging Heroes. So that was fine. On a sort of a cross draw position for her right hand. Because I figured, if things start to kick off, she'll definitely want to have something she can return fire with. But just a beautiful model. And here you can see as well where I just did a little bit of modification. I can't even remember what was in the other hand. I had this beautifully designed book being held. You can see it there from the other side. I had this in my bits box and I thought that would look really fantastic as this sort of person just standing right here, and she's got this like a power sword, but I also found this in my bits box, which is more sort of a dueling sword, I guess. Is that what you call that? Or a broadsword? And I thought that would be so neat having this, one of these Exemplar sisters right at the front of the battlefield, preaching from her, holy book there, from this relic, preaching the sort of about the God Emperor of man, and she's got 2 swords, no firearms. I just thought that was cracker. So yeah, that's all of the Exemplar sisters, and really that just leaves us with the Sister Ardanna. So when I unboxed Sister Ardanna, I noticed on her pack that she was resting on the sword, and the bottom of the sword was obscured here. You can see her standing on the gargoyle's head there, which is just amazing. But yeah, the tip of the sword was obscured, and I noticed when I unboxed it that my sword had no tip to it, so it was broken off. And I was thinking, okay, that's probably just the way it is. It's on the card there. But no, it's not the way it is. It turns out that my sword was actually broken, and I went through all the baggies and everything, all of the box, and I could not find the tip of that sword. So it looks like it was broken before it went into shipping, which is just unfortunate, but these things happen. It's not the end of the world. So what I ended up doing was modifying a thunder hammer, and hopefully you can see it there, where she is just leaning on a thunder hammer. And I thought that just looked so cool. That she's got her foot up in this gargoyle. She's leaning on the thunder hammer. She's still got the sort of the handle of it underneath her hands there. And for me, it was just like, yeah. I was disappointed at first because of the broken sword, but I think this works out really well. There's a little bit of putty in there. I had to do a wee bit of sculpting work on it. And I had to shorten the handle too, just to make it sort of line up here for so that when it's on the base, it's all just going to be, it'll look like it's resting on the ground. Anyway, when that's primed and stuff, you won't notice any difference. She does have some beautiful design work on the back of her backpack here. The little sort of spikes that came up, there are 2 of them. You can see them just there at the back. They were curved over. They were really fragile. And when I was holding the miniature together to glue it, because this part here around the hands is incredibly fiddly, in the process of sort of holding it here, I bent one of them over and it snapped. So I just took the 2 of them off and just sanded off the top. I don't think it matters. I don't think it's a great loss, because it's still a beautiful miniature, beautiful design. And that is going to sit right on the back of my immolator tank and is going to look fantastic as my Cannon S. But hey, we are at the end of our 4-day Raging Heroes weekend. I have loved going through these. I have been so relieved that the quality of the molds is up to the quality of the renders on their website. I was really worried that there was going to be just this big divide between what it looked like on their website to what it actually looked like when built up, but there is not. These look so close to the renders, to the artist's impressions or whatever they are on their website and on their sort of promotional material here. They look so close to those. The details and everything in the face are all maintained. They just look fantastic. I'm so happy with the way they've come out. For sure, there's work to be done on the resin. You've got to trim off some of that skin. There are mold lines. You got to be a little bit more careful with resin. You can't use polystyrene cement, obviously, because it's not polystyrene. So you need to use super glues. And they can just be a bit of a pain sometimes with sticking your fingers together or whatever. But overall, I am incredibly pleased. Will I order more from Raging Heroes? 100%. Absolutely addicted to the quality of these miniatures now. And the fact that every single one is different. Every single mold is different in stance and posture. And can't recommend it enough. In a few weeks' time, I'll be looking at the War Pulpit, which is one of their huge walkers with like a preacher on it and thick organ pipes, and I don't know how many weapons. There are what look like slaves lashed to the front of it. I don't know whether they're powering it or what they're there for, but it looks incredible. But that will be coming up in a few weeks' time. So I'm really looking forward to get back to that. And when I order more Raging Heroes, which I will definitely be doing, I'll make sure to get them in front of you too. But that is it. Thank you so much. Whether you joined me for this one or you were here for all four, I really appreciate you. And if you like these videos, please like, share, and subscribe. Comment down below. There's usually a bit of back and forwards banter going on down there. You've got the links to Instagram and merchandise store, and also to the wonderful Mighty Lancer games. You can click all of those down below. And for the next episode, I will be going back over to Warhammer and Games Workshop. We've had a break this weekend, but next weekend I'll be looking at the Start Collecting Deathwatch box, which has one of my favorite characters in it, a Dreadnought. If you saw my review of the Furioso Dreadnought a little while ago, you'll know that I just love those little chunky, stompy death machines. Like, just amazing. Anyway, that's next week. That's the Start Collecting Deathwatch kit. Until then, take care of yourselves, and thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye now.